Okay, hey there. My name is MilenPS. It's been a little bit of a minute. Apologies for this one being a little later, nonetheless. It's been a crazy week. In case you didn't notice, Dodie showed up for the Sorry and When videos, which is not something I would have expected. And now a lot of you wonderful Dodie fans are here, which is incredible. I thought that the last video kind of summarized the increase in activity, but it turns out it's still going up, and I don't really know what to say, but thank you, and it's very appreciated. I see a lot of you asking for a full rundown of Dodie's new record, and I would love to do that. However, doing that, I think, with all the little theory things that I like to put in the videos would probably be like over an hour long, which I don't necessarily want to do. I want to keep these close to like 10 to 15 minutes, but I also don't want to ignore what you guys want. So here's the deal. I did mention that I'm big fans of Orla Gartland, Laura, and Aquilina and wanted to get into Tessa Violet, and they've got these mashup videos. So my plan, with your help, is to do a reaction and analysis video for Orla Gartland and Laura Aquilina and Tessa Violet. And then after that's done, we're going to take a look at their mashups. And then after we do those, I would like to make a mashup of those four artists myself, maybe a little short one just for fun. Then we can start looking at some more Dodie stuff. I'm going to start with Orla Gartland, and we're going to start with a song called More Like You. All right, so let's get into it. More Like You, Orla Gartland. Let's dive right into it, shall we? That was a ridiculous eyebrow thing. I don't know. Let's start.
Trying to copy every word you say. I love the way you think. You have this way of knowing it'll be okay. Where'd you get that confidence from? Cause you wear it like a coat. All this feeling second best, it's got me by the throat. I know that I've been obsessing in the worst way.
Okay, let's stop there. So what we have so far is this, what we call like a pulsatory rhythm. And what that means is kind of like this repeating figure that's going through the song so far. And this repeating figure is based on the note A. It looks like it's 3 pulses of 3. And then filling up the rest of a 4/4 bar, because we are in 4/4 time. Because of that accent and that subdivision, we get a lot of a push forward in our rhythm. And one thing I love about Orla Gartland is she has an amazing sense of rhythm. A lot of her vocals sit in really interesting places. And admittedly, I have heard this before, but I've never really sat down and analyzed it. We seem to be in the key of like D major, B minor. And it is following this kind of 3-note pulse that we're going. Or something like that. Anyway, let's keep going.
I heard it from a woman on the internet. She told me to be well and try to love myself. Then maybe I will wish that I was someone else. Tell me how, tell me how.
Okay. So just like what I was talking about with Orla Gartland's rhythm, specifically in the choruses that she makes, is she has this awesome rhythmic energy to her voice that's really based on accent and syncopation. If you don't know what syncopation is, when we think of time in music, we break our time down by kind of going, counting to 4 beats in this case. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, with an equal amount of time between each one. When we subdivide those, or kind of make them into smaller divisions, we call them 1/8 notes, but you can count them by adding the word and in between each one. So it halves the length of the rhythm you're counting and allows you to kind of like say it with your mouth to find what that actually sounds like. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So syncopation is when you push the 8th note, or the tinier note that we just made in between each beat, and push it a little bit. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. With this chorus, this ba da da ba da 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 ba ba ba. So that push happens right in between the beat, which we call syncopation. And she does that in a lot of her songs, and it just like there's just so much cool like energy to it. Let's keep going.
Be more like you. Look,
New
I don't
person.
wanna fight.
Okay, here's the groove of the drums.
No, I just wanna swap our bodies for a day. Imagine I could.
So let's look at what's happening with the second verse. So we have this drum, with this drum part that's now implemented that gives it a little bit more of the groove of right? And the ticking or the pulse that I mentioned before has changed a little bit. There's some more noises associated. there's some new instruments. It sounds like the beginning was just synth, and it sounds like there might be palm muted guitar. Let me go back and check.
Look, I don't wanna fight. No, I just wanna
Okay, so we got the drum beat. We've got a palm muted guitar and the roots in either synth bass or a fretted bass. Cool. I want to look at the vocal melody there too, because instrumentally it's definitely a little different, and it just gives us that solid foundation of rhythm, which was kind of missing at the beginning of the song. The way she sits, again, like in the rhythm of this whole thing with these wordy lyrics, and I'm curious if she's a lyrics or melody first person, because I find that wordy lyrics usually come from writing with the pen first and kind of squeezing them into parts, and then maybe reducing them later. And people who write melody first often have shorter lyrics so they can they can fit them to these broad vowel shapes and melodies that they make up in their head.
I don't wanna fight. No, I just wanna swap our bodies for a day.
Right there. I just wanna swap up bodies for a day. Like they're just like the staccato, which is a musical term for short, just instead of doing swap our bodies for a day, it's swap up bodies for a day. And I really like the opening of the verses too. There's that syncopation. Okay, so in the chorus, we have the same chord progression as the whole thing. What I do really like about this song is the bass line never actually repeats itself too much. It's always playing the same chord progression, but it takes a little bit of liberty as to like how it gets to where it needs to be. It might not play the root. It can just be like, or it kind of changes a little bit. Now, as for her melody, most of it is minor pentatonic. And if you don't know what minor pentatonic is, or pentatonic in general, judging by its name, I'm sure you can figure out it has 5 notes in it. Normally when we play a scale, we have, like I said, an alternation between semitones and tones. The interesting thing about the pentatonic scale is it actually avoids semitones. So because it avoids semitones, it's really easy to sing over things, and that's not to diminish it. It's used in most music these days for vocal melodies or even just hooks in general. It has this intrinsic singability to human beings. It can get a little boring because you can kind of always expect what the next note is, and sometimes it feels like it can lack a little color. However, what Orla is really good at is choosing passing notes and leaves the pentatonic scale for a second, which gives it a lot of color. So for that first chord, it's a B minor chord. She actually starts on the G. Right? Which is like a nice little change, and it resolves down to the F sharp. Right there too. It's dissonant, but it's just for a second. And right there, that C sharp. That shouldn't be in the pentatonic scale, or it isn't in the pentatonic scale, but it adds a lot of color when she hits it because it's not hit all the time. So listen to it again. Really, really nice, just touches of color that lead you in the right direction instead of just playing the pentatonic. It adds really nice color instead of just playing the minor pentatonic stuff the whole time. She looks like she's having so much fun. Both of them, really. Okay. Interesting. The last line of the chorus is this, "To be more like you," is really interesting because it actually lands on a note of the scale that doesn't really sit in the chord. It's an E on top of a B minor. And that fourth adds a lot of energy, and it's energetic, but it doesn't really sound like it's resolved. And usually at the end of a chorus, you want to kind of finish your cadence and have, you know, the sentence feel like it's complete, or your thesis stated, or however you think of writing a chorus. But in this case, it actually causes a little bit of a dissonance. It doesn't really sound like it's done, right? And because of that, it like picks up with the melody on top. And it's not until that be more like you, where it actually ends up feeling like it resolves finally. So with the chord progression, that's where it feels like the sentence is done. That's where we get that sense of resolution, you know?
And look, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. I got
Cool.
these insecurities, they're all mine. There's nothing you can do, no.
Okay, we've reduced to a piano with a little bit of like that pulse still going in the back. It's really the backbone of this whole song. And another Orla Gartland rhythmic trickery move. We have this kind of bounce implying 2 beats against 3 the whole time. Da, 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 da. It's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. Orla Gartland's rhythm is so good. It just gives so much energy to everything she does.
And look, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. The other day I caught myself just looking at pictures of you know. Oh, I heard it from a woman on the internet.
Oh, nice change to major there. And then we did go back to minor. Okay. So before we get to the last chorus, let's listen to that nice change. So we went to the bridge and we got some really nice piano chords with extensions like 7ths and 9ths and stuff like that happening underneath. But we did hear the chorus that was slightly brighter. Rather than playing a B minor chord with the G on top, we actually played the major tonic of the piece, which in this case is D major because they're related. And that G becomes the 4th and it becomes really, really nice. Let's hear that again. So nice. And then we go back to B minor here. Kill it. And that nice piano on the back too, which is accenting the 3 pulse. Oh, no. Oh, now she's all alone. So final thoughts on this. Really neat. The rhythmic complexity of it is really, really cool. But usually when you hear rhythmically complex stuff, it's like really, really high energy. And this never really reaches that point in a good way. It keeps itself held back a little, but always has this like little bit of urgency underneath everything. And that combined with Orla Gartland's like really interesting vocal rhythms and like chord changes between minor and major, it's really, really, really neat. And I do like the concept of like at least talking about the video, which I know I don't usually talk about. I really like how this song is about obsessing over someone and comparing yourself to them. And then in the choreography, at least the way I interpreted it, is that there's someone is copying someone else. And like in music, we'd call that almost like a round. I just like it starts an imitation, but like if someone plays something and then someone copies a little bit later, you kind of have this echo effect. And while it's not exactly that, I did get that impression, like it was almost like a mirror, or it was like slightly delayed or trying to be something that it was not, but just a little off. And at the end, it just seems like they were having fun, and maybe their tension just got resolved, or maybe they just like Orla or the other girl whose name I don't know just got comfortable with their own skin and they were just dancing and having a party instead of trying to do this like the exact same choreography, you know? I really enjoyed this. Like I said at the beginning, let's do Lauren Aquilina and Tessa Violet, your guys' recommendations. I really don't know too much of Tessa's stuff. I'm pretty familiar with Lauren's. And then we'll do the mashup, and then we'll do some more Dodie. If there's other stuff you want to hear that is not related to any of these, please still feel free to comment it. I do read all of them. Yeah, this was dope. I really enjoyed this. You guys have a good day, and I'll see you in about a week or so. Peace. What the hell was that?